If you are lazy but still want high grades, there's a particular shortcut that I'm going to teach you in this video. I applied this shortcut in my final year in university and my results increased drastically. And I don't understand why nobody is talking about this particular shortcut. When I say lazy, I don't mean not studying at all. I mean mastering efficiency. You want to study in a way that you'll be able to get the maximum grade by studying less. I'm going to be teaching you that study shortcuts in which it will help you get more grades, understand deeply, and also be able to remember most of the things you study. One course that actually gave me issue, which is operations management. I did my first test and I failed woefully until I applied this particular shortcut that I'm about to show you in this video. When I applied it, my results increased drastically in my exam and I was able to increase my overall results. So pay attention as I teach you step by step the reverse engineer conquer method. This shortcut consists of 4 phases, and these 4 phases are intelligence gathering, targeted strikes, memory forging, and dressing rehearsal. As I am explaining this step, I'm going to be backing up with practical steps that you can follow and my experience so far using the step. Before I go into explaining all the 4 phases, there's one particular thing I want you to note, and this particular information is very important if you need to apply these 4 techniques. And the information is: stop being a student, start being an exam strategist. But in order for you to be an exam strategist, you need to stop asking yourself this question: what do I need to learn? Don't ask yourself that question. The question you should ask yourself is: what do I need to prove that I've learned? Is a different thing. So if you keep asking yourself that what do I need to prove that I've learned, it will help you focus on the most important thing and neglect the things that's not important and cannot help you pass that particular exam. There are courses that you might be given a lot of material, loads of textbook, loads of everything, but you should constantly ask yourself, instead of being overwhelmed by the number of notes or textbook that you are giving for that course, you should always ask yourself this question: what do I need to prove that I've learned? The only way you can know what you need to prove is by using these 4 techniques that I'll be explaining to you. In my uni, we are always given several textbooks, several materials to study. I was overwhelmed. I used to study everything that was given. I used to fail those exams because after studying everything, I discovered that I could not even gain anything. But then everything changed when I started asking myself this question, that is, what do I need to prove that I've learned? So most of the time, I used to neglect some of the materials we are given. Keeping that question in my mind, it gives me a lens of focus on what to focus on and what do I need to provide answers to in my exam. What you need to prove that you've learned is what you need to provide answers to in your exam. That is that. So the first thing that you need to do is to do an intelligence gathering. Now, when you do an intelligence gathering, you are gathering relevant information and insights. And when you are doing an intelligence gathering, it's important that you attend classes, because I used to tell students that you don't only go to class to listen to what the lecturer is saying. You go to class to get insights. This is where you pay attention to what the lecturer is saying. You pay attention to what the lecturer or the teacher is hammering on, because possibly he or she might have set questions on it. You get insight from senior colleagues. You get insight from past questions, which questions occur most and which ones carry more mark. Now, there's one particular course that I mentioned earlier, which is operations management. This course, there's one particular question that resurfaces every time in that exam, which is linear programming. So there is no exam that linear programming will not surface. So when I saw those linear programming surfacing for the past 5 years, then I pop up that question: that what do I need to prove that I've learned? So one thing that I need to prove that I learned as regards that is linear programming, because it shows every time. Of course, there are so many topics that we are given for that course, but linear programming was one paramount question that usually surface more. After I analyzed about the past 5 years past question, then I knew, okay, I studied the trends, I studied the patterns, and it gave me an insight on how to predict how the question will come next time. At the end of the day, he ended up repeating most of the questions from the past 5 years. So that is what I need to prove that I've learned. So when you are doing this intelligence gathering, you need to gather all those insights. You need to gather all those information. You need to look into the learning objective. What is the expectation of that lecturer. What does the lecturer want from you from that? So after you've done all this, you can write it down or you can draw a plan. And it is very important for you to do this from the beginning of the semester. If you're having challenges, try to remember what you studied, struggle to start studying, or don't have a plan at all on how you can start studying, my one-on-one coaching is for you, because I'll provide you with an effective step-by-step guidance and personalized help that can help you remember most of the things you study, and also provide a structured study plan that works for you. If you are interested, you can click the link in my description, and when you sign up for my one-on-one coaching, you get my free ebook. There are limited slots available. Click the link to get access and sign up now before it's too late. The next thing is for you to target strikes. Now, when you are targeting strikes, there are two actions you need to take here. First of all, you need to hunt for answers from the intelligence gathering that you've done. And the next thing is for you to study those answers using active learning techniques. There are different ways you can hunt for answers from the past question that you've gotten. You can hunt for answers on the past question. You can watch YouTube videos to hunt for these answers. You can meet friends to hunt for answers. Just make sure you gather all the answers that you can for all the past questions that you have. And while you are doing this, you must try to understand them. You must try to learn them very well, because of course you'll be able to, in order for you to be able to provide answers to them in your exam. Then one particular thing that I use when I was in school after hunting for answers is that I try to teach, because a lot of students might not be able to go through all the stress by doing intelligence gathering and doing the targeted strikes. When I hunt for these answers, I get them, I copy them somewhere, then I make sure I understand them. Then I go ahead to teach a lot of people in my class, all of my colleagues. I teach them, because those ones will still be wasting time studying all the textbook and all that. But me, I go there, I teach them, and while I'm teaching them, I'm reinforcing it in my brain. It is solidified in my brain as I repeat them constantly. So as I'm doing this, I'm also going to the class to do my intelligence gathering and gathering insights, add it to what I am getting in my targeted strike to be able to add more information. So this intelligence gathering and targeting strike is not something you do once. You can go back and forth, because as the semester goes on, you need to study new topic, you need to encounter new topics. So as you gather intelligence, as you gather insights from class, from past questions, you do the targeted strike by hunting answers for them, because there are questions also that will be given in class. So you hunt answers for them, you get help from different places, you write them down, then you teach them to people. Then when you are teaching them to people, you are solidifying the information. And another way, you are trying to simplify it in order for you to be able to understand the information. Then after doing this, then you need to go to the second phase, which is memory forging. Now, memory forging is when you try to solidify the information, because of course, when you've done the targeted strike and you are reading, if you do it once, you will forget. And like I've said in some of my videos, memory decays over time. When you study something now, there are tendencies that it will stay in your brain, but over time, you tend to forget. So in order to interrupt it, you need to review at interval, and that is where spaced repetition comes in. So you need to space your teaching and your hunting for answers and your learning. You need to space them over time until the day of your exam. So the more you space them, and when you are doing this, of course, note that you are not reading too much. You've not even read most of the things. You only gather all those information, you put them into use, and you are reviewing it every single time until the day of your exam. So you don't even need too much to do, because after you must have taught a lot of people, then you just need to study little and just teach people and do that back and forth. So you've not actually done too much thing like that. Instead of sitting and reading about 20 something to 50 something pages of textbook, this will actually save you a lot of stress. So when you do the memory forging, you space your learning. You can have a timetable where you have about 2 hours set for each topic or each subject, and you study them at interval. You have a weekly timetable. Monday, you can set 2 hours for 2 subjects or 3 subjects. Tuesday, like that. So over time, you rotate the whole thing to the day of your exam. So when your exam is close, this is where you need to do the dressing rehearsal, and this is where the determining factor comes in. Now, this is where you do an examination simulation, and I do it a lot of time. So after you've taught people, after you've done your intelligence, because this intelligence gathering and targeting strike and the memory forging is something that you go back and forth over time, because as you go on in the semester, they introduce new topic, they introduce new insights, you do them back and forth throughout the period. That is why I said it is very important for you to start early. Dressing rehearsal, which is the exam simulation, you must have gotten all the facts, you must have finished the syllabus, you must have done everything for that semester. Of course, you must have gotten to your lecture free week, or where you have about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to your exam. Now, this is where you now gather all those past questions, then you set another timetable where you'll be answering each of the past questions. The purpose of this is for you to be able to prepare yourself for the exam and to be able to condition yourself to the exam environment. So when you're simulating an exam, you set the time allotted for that exam, you set everything for that. The environment is set for that, like you are writing the exam. Aside from it helping you to solidify the information and keeps you alert, I always tell students that they can study well, but their conduct in the exam also apply to how they can perform well in the exam. So you can do all the things that I said, but if you get to the exam and you start shivering and you start getting anxiety, then you might decide to write the wrong thing in the exam and you fail. So the exam simulation is for you to just get your body ready and your mind ready for the exam and clear out any emotion or anxiety that might come up in the exam. So while you are doing this exam simulation, it's very important to record your scores and look at how you can improve over time. Observe what you did wrong the previous exam simulation and be able to improve. So after you must have done all the rehearsals, then you go for the D-Day with the exam. And by the time you get to the exam, you must have done everything ready. And of course, you'll be able to do perfectly well in the exam. So I hope you got so much value from this video. If you did, please like the video and also subscribe to the channel. You can also check out this other video on things you need to do before your next exam, because these are the things you need to pay attention to and you need to do them. So thank you so much and see you on the next one.